Here we go. It's Thursday.
Celebrate living, celebrate misery. You know that soon we're gonna die.
All right.
Let's have some fun while we all die.
It's Thursday. And I want to welcome you guys to this past weekend. Here we are. It's Thursday. And it is, it's February 8th. February 8th. You know what happened this year that I didn't pay much attention to was Punxsutawney Phil. And Punxsutawney Phil is a rodent. I mean, I'll put it to you like that. You know, a lot of people say he's a groundhog. And that could be true. But also, he's a rodent. And he has, I guess, a disorder where if he sees his shadow, then he goes back inside. And a lot of us have that disorder. That's a mental health disorder. And so I guess that's why he's become such a hero to everybody, because, you know, it's one of the first animals that, I know they have a lot of animals that deal with it, but this animal, you know, they kind of made a little show out of it every year, where if he has, you know, a lot of anxiety, then we, you know, it creates this idea that we're going to have a longer winter. You know, if Punxsutawney Phil has longer anxiety, then we're going to have longer winter. And so it's pretty interesting, but I didn't even pay attention this year. You know, and I realized this is the first year that I never paid attention to what was happening with Mr. PP right there, Punxsutawney Phil. Usually I'm keyed in. You know, I'll get up early and watch the, on the internet now they have this Phil feed. And it's just the Phil feed is, it's just a feed on the internet where you can see what, you know, how Phil is feeling and what Phil's feelings are. And this year I didn't do it. And I don't know if I didn't do it. I think it's just one of those things you kind of evolve out of. You know, you just kind of grow out of it. You know, there are things in life, there are stages that kind of you just evolve out of certain stages and out of certain things. You know, you evolve out of believing in Santa. You know, of course, somebody tells you, or you see something naughty. You know, you see somebody, you know, you see Santa doing something nasty or drinking. And you're like, this is something, you know, this is different than what the books are telling us. You know, this is different than what the commercials are telling us. And you evolve out of that, you know. There's there's things you just kind of quit thinking about and quit inspecting, I guess. And Punxsutawney Phil was one of those for me. It just became one. It just became one of those things where it was like, you know, I got enough of my own anxiety, enough of my own mental issues to tune into this animal once a year and see what his issues are and see how he's faring as an animal. So I didn't even pay attention. It was February 2nd. I'm going to look up right now what he even saw. Punxsutawney Phil. And I'm going to see what he even saw. Groundhog Day, he saw his shadow. And it said that it's going to be a colder second half of it's going to be colder than usual for the next 6 to 8 weeks. So there you go. That's it. And they don't have a lot of animals that can do that sort of thing. But when you read up on a lot of animals, you find out that they have animals that can do it. You know, a lot of sheep and cows and stuff, if it's going to rain, they'll get nervous. You know, if there's going to be a earthquake, then, you know, chickens a lot of times will try to get to a little bit higher ground. So if you have a box in your yard and you have some chickens in your yard, if there's going to be an earthquake, chickens are likely to try and stand on that box or jump up onto that box. So if you have one box and you have, 60 or 70 chickens outside, and all of a sudden they're all on that box. If they're all, like a 700 piece, like a KFC 700 piece, if they all up in there, then you can start to expect that there's going to be an earthquake. They also say that a lot of, I think there's other animals, horses, giraffes will lay down if there's going to be like a volcano, I think. Let me look that up. Yeah, but it's just, shoot, this internet's not working. But yeah, if there's going to be a volcano, if there's going to be, a lot of animals can predict different stuff. And so it's, a long time ago when we were Native Americans, before we weren't Native Americans, and, that's one way to put it, that we were more into that sort of thing, and that's how we knew information. And now this information is just all out there. It's just free information. You can have as much information as you want now. And I'm starting to wonder, are we going to get to a place where we don't want it anymore? I'd love to. I just wish there was sometimes just a cage where you could go where you didn't have a desire to have any information. Because I start to see it as an infection sometimes. It's constant reminders of what you don't have in front of you. Like I remember, when I was young, we didn't have everything. But we also we weren't advertised everything. Everything wasn't advertised at us. I had a cousin, Glance, who didn't grow any hair till he was probably about maybe 10 and a half. And for a long time, people thought he had cancer. People thought he had, alopecia. People thought he was, Mormon. People thought all kinds of stuff because he didn't grow any hair till he was 10 and a half. But the main thing with Glance was that he just didn't have it in him. His genetics were, I don't know if they were faulty or they were factory direct. I don't know what the hell they were, aftermarket or whatever. But his genetics didn't have him on the hair clock until 10 and a half years. Most of us get hair out of the gate. We get hair right when we get into the world. Everybody gets a little bit of hair. And you get some hair on your head, or you get some, babies will get a little bit of hair all over their body. They get a little bit of hair all over their body. And it's damn, they're just little, they're just little guinea pigs, really. They're little guinea pigs, really. They're just have these little bitty hairs all over them. I'm not sure what it's called. But Glance didn't have any hair until he was probably 10 and a half. And I remember people were praying for his hair and, praying for growth. And, but it wasn't in the cards for him. But he also, he wasn't, we didn't have all the information out there at the time where you just didn't, everybody, there was tons of information as to why he didn't. There wasn't constant advertisements for hair companies, and Hair Mart or, hair.net or different places where all kinds of places, Propecia, all this. Because if that would have been the case, then you'd have had a kid. You'd have had my cousin who was, who would have spent his whole life trying to get this hair, trying to get this thing, instead of living his life. And that's, I just feel like with all the information now, there's so many options. There's so much you could be doing this. Or what you're doing isn't the best thing you could be doing. And as long as that carrot is always out in front of me, I don't know if I can enjoy the salad that I'm eating. If you know what I'm saying here. And I'm vegging here. I'm using vegetable ideas. But it's like how, as long as that carrot's dangling out in front of me, how can I enjoy, the bounty that I have in front of me? And it's hard. And that's one of the pitfalls of information and of advertising these days, is that it's just, well, it's not a pitfall of advertising. I mean, it's there I mean, advertising kind of our arch nemesis, really. If we want peace, you know. But of technology and information, it's constant reminder of what you aren't doing or what you could be doing better. Or, you know, now it's like, say you go and look up a recipe for eggs. You're going to make an egg salad, or you're going to make just regular eggs without salad, fried eggs, you know, or just together eggs, scrambled. But now you go and look up a recipe, you have the recipe, right? That's all you wanted to do. But then, you know, now maybe you make your eggs and then you're going to watch a video on the internet. But now the video knows that you just looked up eggs. The internet does. And so now it's sending you all this other stuff. Better than eggs. They have a recipe called Better Than Eggs. You're like, fuck, now you just spent time making these eggs. And now you're eating eggs in the shadow of an advertisement for something called Better Than Eggs. And is it better than eggs? Who knows what the fuck it is? You know, who knows? But it's just that this information always looms. It's like this, you know, it's like that, I don't know, it's just always right there in front of us. And I just miss the days when that wasn't it. When everything was just more chill, more calm, where you enjoy, you know, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. Because you didn't have a fit to throw because you didn't know the other options. Man, I remember, you know, when I was young, you were just happy to have whatever. And the only goal when you were a child, when I was young, was not to get your ass beat by your mother or your father. I remember this boy, one of the Yoovah kids, they had his family that lived down the street from us called the Yoovahs. And this one boy stuck, I don't know what his full name was, Stanislaus or something. I think they were from, they might have been Dutch. I mean, I don't know if they were Dutch or not. They were pieces of shit, but they might have been, you know, Dutch shit. But they, the Yoovahs had this, one of the boys stuck. He'd had his, and that was a nickname. Stanislaus, I think, was his real name. But he had his fingers glued together, two of his fingers. And I mean, you know, not just a line of super glue. I'm talking a whole damn, you know, one of those green bottles with the red cap. They'd really put it on him. And he had two. I mean, he was just a dang, you know, a Weeblo scout all the time. He had that double up, you know. And he couldn't get him off. Never got him separated. As long as I knew him, which was probably 9 years. And so he would always suck on his fingers, you know. And he would just enjoy that glue, enjoy that hit, you know. And, shit, I don't even know where this story was going. What were we talking about? Oh, we're talking about so one time he stayed over. So one time Stuck stayed the night at my place, my mother's house that I lived in when I was a child, because we all lived together because we were a family. And this is when we were still a family, when we were still, you know, all living together. And so our big thing was sneak down at night, cook some shit in the oven. Some basic ass shit, crackers, you know, maybe a little bit of cheese on them, maybe a little bit of them, you know, fucking just bop them up with that American slice, you know. Maybe take a slice of American and cut it in a 4. Bam, bam. You know, put them crackers, you know, get them, you know, throw a little pepper on them bitches, you know, fire them up. And we get that oven heated, get that oven, you know, cranking. But, you know, the light from the kitchen, it could hit under the doorway by my mother's room, and if I made too much noise, she could hear us. So you didn't want mom to hear us, and you wanted to get that food made. And one of the most amazing things I ever saw was one time we had the oven open, right? And the Yoovahs were one of the toughest families I ever met in my life. One of them had, I mean, this kid might have had 2 spines in his back. And something had happened to his teeth. It all grew in on one side of his mouth. It was just one huge tooth. I mean, this tooth was probably 2.5 inches long. And when that thing broke through his gums, I mean, I can't even imagine when he was teething as a child. You know, the rest of us have to have ointment and gel and, you know, get Novocaine shot up just for sprouting a couple little enamel nuggets. You know, a couple little baby ghosts. And here he had this 2.5-inch Grim Reaper rolling out of his gummosphere into his mouth. And it was, can't even imagine. But anyhow, we're making these cookies. We firing up these hitters down there with these crackers and cheese, a little bit of pepper, maybe some, whatever else. Maybe mixing up a can of that orange juice. They used to have that orange juice. It was like this, they had this frozen chunk in the freezer. And you got that chunk. And first you would take it, they had this tight white plastic cord around the can, and the can was freezing cold. The can had ice on the outside. The can didn't want you getting inside of it. Like cans nowadays, it's got these easy peel tops, and, it makes like a whoosh when you open something. Not the cans we grew up with. Those frozen fucking orange juice. Man, you had to fucking sit there and babysit that thing. You had to sweet talk it. It was frozen. You could barely hold on to it. And it had frozen orange juice inside of it. And I don't even think it was real orange juice. It was just orange fucking ice. But it was a huge chunk of it. And so the thing was to get that ice out and get it into a thing of water. Then you beat it around in this jug of water with a wooden spoon. And then you don't really have orange juice, but what you have is sort of you have kind of orangey looking water with a huge chunk of kind of orange stuff in it, in the pitcher. So anyhow, me and Stuck come down, make that, right? Then we start getting these hitters that we put together, we slipping them into the oven. And these ain't no gray block hitters, These are basic run-of-the-mill fucking 4th Ward, Covington, Louisiana, out there off Lee Road, back there by the baled hay dealership, right down from Ozone Field, right there where they got all the animal carcasses out in the ditch. This is those hitters. This is more of these backwoods hitters that we made. It's the cracker, them saltines, got that American cheese, that little hit of that square of queso. The shadiest cheese, too. You can see through it a little bit. You're like, fuck, this shit looks questionable. It doesn't even taste like cheese. It just tastes kind of like yellow. It tastes like a little, it tastes like harsh yellow. And then you got that pepper, boy. We douse these bitches up with pepper, right? So we put the tray of them in the oven. Quiet, quiet, quiet. Don't wake my mother, right? Don't. And my mother was the kind of lady that laid in bed waiting to get fucking woken up. I don't even think she went to sleep. I think she just closed her eyes and waited to beat someone. And I'll tell you this, the toughest thing I ever seen happen out of somebody. I don't know what happened. We're in the dark. We get the oven open. We get the thing. Stuck falls onto the oven door. Open oven door. Blazing hot. I mean, this thing had been preheated. We only preheated things to 400. We only burned shit in my house. Nothing was ever cooked correctly. It was either fucking burnt. Because here's what happened. You put it in. 400 was the only thing we knew. You put it in at 400. Then you forgot about it. And then you smelled smoke. And you ran downstairs. And then you got your ass beaten. And that was how we cooked in our house. But Stuck fell on this hot door with no t-shirt, no shirt on his back. And he held it in. It was dark in the kitchen, and I could see the pain on his face. When Stuck Yoovah hit that hot door with his probably 11 or 12-year-old skin and held that pain inside of him. It was just a different time. And now you go upstairs, you Google, you do all kinds of, you probably call the police on your parents, all of this, all of that. Man, I remember just, we put him on his stomach. We laid cold towels on him, put the towels. We had some towels that were some spare towels. And we put these towels into cold water, and laid him on his back. But man, it looked scary. His back bubbled up. I mean, it looked like just like his whole back looked like the top of a meatloaf, kind of. And, it was just a different time, though. It was just a different time when things were different. That's all I'm saying. It was a different time when things were different, and I miss it a little bit. And Stuck had a brother, and this was an older brother. Could have been an uncle. And that's the kind of the family it was. It was sort of that, I mean, the DNA kind of did what it did. Not everybody's got that, that family tree. Some people got that family cactus, and there's a fern hanging off of it over here, and you got a couple of fucking, you got an owl living in one of the branches, and he's, selling coke. But he had a brother that had moles on his back, right? And these different moles, and moles are little pieces of cancer or whatever that live in your body. Sometimes they try and or not cancer, but they're basically like the devil's little death buttons. And they might have cancer in them, and if the devil presses them and pushes that cancer into your skin, then you can get sick. But sometimes the devil just leaves them on your body. And you just dancing around with these fancy little, benign and malignant studs. You out there stunting and flexing with these studs on you. And that's what happened with the oldest Yoovah brother. He had tattoos. He had all kind of tattoos. He had tattoos, and one of them was a constellation of his moles. He had made a constellation. And I don't want to say it was Orion's belt. It could have been a Little Dipper. I mean, we only knew like 3 constellations back then. But those were the days, man. Those were the days when you there just wasn't so much information out there. And I think, over time, things like that evolve out. When I was young, those things were fun. Those were like the people in my neighborhood. And those were, and we played football. Every day we played football. If it didn't rain, we played football. And we played in the street. We played in the street, man. Dude, I saw this kid one time got his head ran his face right into an open mailbox. Open mailbox. One of the black ones, those hardy ones, the metal ones. Now everybody's got a plastic mailbox. They don't want their mail to get hurt when it gets delivered. But we had the metal. And I saw this boy get his face stuck right in it. Had to go get 2 people's dads to come out and help him get his mailbox get his face out the mailbox. And those were the times, man, and the kids were tough. And things were different, man. It was just different. And so, I don't know, I guess this Punxsutawney Phil thing's just got me kind of reminiscing in some of my past and just thinking about some things. And just thinking about things that evolved out of my life. And here I am, I'm an adult. And I'm sitting here and it's like, it's just different now. I was talking to somebody the other day. I was having dinner, an early dinner with some friends. And we were talking about, and she was saying how children these days, and some of you listeners may know about this. I never thought about this before. Because I was telling her how upset that I feel and how lost I feel and how disappointed I feel that there is so much technology now. And that we're getting away from our feelings and interaction as humans and connection. Real human connection. And she was telling me that children these days, because I'm generation, I don't know what I am, X or something, or I don't think I'm Y. I think I want to say Y is women, and I could be wrong, but I'm like, now it's Generation Z, I believe. But these kids, there's no difference from like just having a feeling, like a digital feeling is the same as an actual feeling. Like it's the same thing. That like if they love someone, if they express that love on, by liking something or sending a heart or a certain series of emojis, that's to them, it's just as real as as if whenever we were kids and we, told somebody we cared about them, or we did something fun with someone, or we expressed whatever feelings the emojis express, whatever feeling we got as we did that, as we expressed those actual feelings, those actual emotions, because emoji just comes, it's just, little shapes that represent actual emotions. But that for children these days, that there's no difference. And she was telling me that the reason, and she wasn't like a know-it-all. She was just, this is something that she had read or she had heard at a speech, I think she said, that the reason that people my age, I'm 37, have so much trouble dealing with some of this stuff is because we've been alive to see both. And that's why there's such a disconnection. That's why we feel so uncertain. That's why the technology sometimes feels so scary. Because it's, we knew the original form of it. It's like whenever somebody brought, a typewriter to a man that wrote with a quill, with a feather and ink. At first, I'm sure that man was like, "What? This is you can't really put your feelings into a typewriter." And then here we are, and and we had our original emotions, and now you have someone coming along, or you have a time coming along where, when kids were born and they knew about a typewriter, they never thought about they thought the pen and the ink were ridiculous, basically a bird pervert. So she was just saying that, and some of you parents might know if you have if you recognize that it seems the same, because I'd never thought that. Instead of being like, oh shit, like the human species is ruined, is it just more that the human species has evolved? And now we express our emotions, those, digitally, and they still represent the same actual feelings to us as they did when we expressed them actually, with actual emotions. So I don't know. That's it. I had never heard that. It was super interesting to hear because I hadn't heard that. But yeah, I guess, it's just it's a different time. It's a different time. But I want to thank you guys, for being here with me on this past Thursday. We got some calls that came in. I'm going to Portland. This weekend. Oh, is this too high? Dang. I'm going to Portland this weekend. So if anybody have a friend in Portland, I'm going to be at Harvey's in Portland. So if you have any ideas about it or want to have a friend to come out, let them come on out. Also, I had a young lady submit some artwork for the Dark Arts Tour. And if anybody else wants to do that, submit artwork for the Dark Arts Tour. I'm trying to put the tour together right now. Please do. And that my email is theovonk@mac.com. And that's theovonk@mac.com. And that's that Dark Arts Tour. And one idea that I had that was pretty cool was like the Doom poster. They have this Doom poster where the guy is like fending off a bunch of aliens. But if we could make a way where those aliens are the dark arts. And whatever the dark arts are resemble to you. And we have a couple of pieces of stuff coming along there. And I may use the stuff that this young lady sent in. I need to email her back and discuss it with her. We also have a great new shirt idea that's come in from one of our listeners. And I'm super grateful. So I just want to say thank you guys to that. Next week, I'm shooting a couple of digital episodes for Comedy Central with a show that's actually based on the podcast. So I want to thank you guys so much for the support. That's going to be cool. There'll be some unique comedians that that will be in it. And it's really, the premise is, young men and women who are going through certain things, they call up and we try to find unique ways to help quell and, help take the burn out of them. Help take the burn out of their skin. With whatever their problem is, help put a little bit of salve on them, if you will. But I'll be at Harvey's in Portland, and that is this weekend, 8th through 11th. I'm also going to meet up with the Hamster Rancher, and that will be going to go on the Patreon page for a week or so, and then we will put that onto regular YouTube. But I'm excited to meet up with him in Portland. Thank you guys for your support on Patreon. Going to be able to hire a camera person to just be there and help out with that. La Jolla, I'll be at the Comedy Store February 16th, 17th, and 18th. February 23rd and 24th, I'll be in Indio at the Fantasy Springs Casino. And then Tacoma, 15th and 16th of March, we'll be up there. And we're going to try to get Tricky Lung Mickey a date. And then October 23rd and 24th, I'll be at Levity Live in Oxnard. So those are some cool things that are going on. Thank you guys for your support. Last week we had this call that came in, and it was this guy right here.
Theo, this is James from Omaha, Nebraska, and I'm calling because I've got a little bit of dark arts on my mind.
And we all do, James. And if you feel that heaviness, if you feel something that starts to just nibble, if you feel behind your ears, there's these lumps of bone. But sometimes you can feel this cloudy little darkness start to just nibble on those, and that is usually the dark arts. But onward.
So I'm 21 years old. I have a girlfriend who I've been dating for about 3 years now. It's a pretty serious relationship.
That's that Tres Años. You got that Tres Años, crotch, that Tres Años chica. And that's beautiful. 3 years with anything is good these days. A lot of animals don't even live 3 years. But onward.
I just see myself being with her the rest of my life. But, there's this thing on my mind where, you see, I lost my virginity to her. I've never been sexually with another woman before. It's not the same for her. She did not lose her virginity to me. She hooked up with several guys before she met me.
Okay, and I'm just going to cut James's call off right there because the call was in on the Monday's episode, and so and what this episode is about the responses. And one of the things that, let's get into some of you guys' responses real quick, and then I'll talk a little bit more about it because I've already been talking a lot. Or not a lot, but some, shit. Well, I'm the only person in the room. So, of course, I'm going to be talking. But anyhow, all right, let's listen to a response or two.
Hey, Theo. This is Abby, the friend zone girl. And I have some advice for James.
All right, thank you, Abby. And Abby, talking about the friend zone, she had called in a while back about how to get out of the friend zone. And people had called and given her some thoughts and ideas. Onward.
I think, from my perspective, it is rough here on these love streets. So if he's got the one, and it's just to get even, just leave it alone.
And that's a good point. Is it just to get even? Is that what's like? And you have to figure out what your intention is there, James. And sometimes it's hard to figure out your intention. Because intention can mask itself. It could be a true desire to meet others. It could be a fear of commitment. It could be revenge. And I'm not saying that any of those are definite or necessarily wrong when it comes to love. Because love is a dirty, dirty little dancer. And love will fucking just dance all up in your rib cage and in your brain. It'll rond de jambe down your neck, and it'll plie across your scapulas, and it'll climb up in your ass and karate kick you in the colon. Love is a dangerous, dangerous thing. It's a very dangerous thing. It's caused wars. It's caused families. It's caused beauty. It's caused triumph. Love has done everything. Love has been the catalyst it hasn't been the catalyst for everything, but there's nothing that love hasn't been the catalyst for. Let's hear more.
On the other hand, if this is something that's going to bother him and cling to him, then get it out of your system, because you don't want to be married, have kids, and then still want to do this and then fuck up your whole life and your relationship because you had a fling one night because you never sowed your oats. So, I mean, like you said, it is not pretty just having the hookups and everything. I mean, it's just not worth it. If you got a good one, you keep it.
And there you go, and that's Abby. And so that's nice. And Abby, thank you very much for calling. And that's, it's nice to have that female perspective. Because a lot of us men, we're dogs, James. We want to see out there in them streets, knocking on, going door to door and busting into some crizzage, and hitting it, hitting that low key water slide. You feel me? Doing a couple of laps in the old shallow end. So we want to see that. But that's man stuff. And then you have Abby calling him right there with that thought. Let's take another call pertaining to this. Here we go.
Hey, Theo. This is Christian calling in from Ireland.
Hey, Christian from Ireland. That's awesome, man. I love Ireland, bro. I love Ireland. And I love Scotland. Let's hear more. Thank you for calling, Christian.
Just thought I'd call in about your man, James, the Golden Oreo.
Yes, the Golden Oreo. And that's a man that's only had a relationship with one woman. Onward.
And his nutter butter girlfriend. I mean, listen, I think it's a beautiful thing that he is, madly in love with this girl. And as you said, it's young love, bro. 21 is so young, and I think you could get that tunnel vision as well, and you can see that or feel like you're going to be with this person forever, but you just don't know. You just never know.
Wow. And I'm just pausing that. Thank you for your thoughts there, Christian. We really do appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody's calls. Yeah, it's like 21 is so young. Well, first of all, doesn't it sound so much fancier being in love in Ireland? Like, it sounds like real love over there, doesn't it? He's like, oh, you love your lady. Oh. Sorry, and I'm doing a bad. I'm not making fun of you, Christian. I'm just trying to do an impersonation. It sounds more, I don't know, the American tongue is just, I think we're just so tired of hearing it as a planet. Just so tired of it's just so much American voice that when you hear something, you hear that fucking, that Scotch-riddled fiddle of a throat that the Irish possess, and you hear that, you hear just the bourbony baritone, beer-filled barrels of barf-aged brisket and just murder and rain and murder and stuff like that, man. When you hear that out of the Irish tone, everything seems more real. It seems like love over there is something real. Whereas in America, it's just, become a couple of people just probably even not even sharing a bed and just jerking off near each other or touching themselves. Let's hear more. Thank you for calling, Christian.
What's around the corner? It's amazing how quick feelings can change, too. And I don't know. I think you shouldn't worry about it too much. Try not to look too far into the future and just exist in the moment. Just exist and enjoy what he has.
Wow. A couple of great points there, man. That 21 is so young, unless you die early. And of course, that's a crazy caveat because odds are you're not gonna. And I shouldn't even have said that, man. I'm sorry. I've just had a weird stuff going on in my head this past month. But, 21 is so young. Dude, if I would have married the girl that I was in love with at 19, oh my God, I would have killed either me or her. If I would have married the girl that I was in love with at 24, 25, actually, it might have worked out with her. Okay. There was still if I was also in love with a girl at 21, I don't think I could have handled that to be married to her. She was a great girl. but I couldn't have handled that. Some women change as they get a little bit older. They get a little bit different. But when I look back, I'm like, oh, I couldn't have done it. And not to say that they could have dealt with me either. I'm no Peppermint Pat. I'm no Peppermint Pat. But, when I look back, I'm like, oh, I'm often grateful. And I'm not trying to send you in a certain direction, James, but what Christian is saying is that it can change. So, if something that in there is some uncertainty, or just because you're so young, you might want to keep some of those options open. Let's hear one. I want to hear your end of your call one more time, Christian.
You just don't know. You just never know what's around the corner. It's amazing how quick feelings can change too. And I don't know. I think you shouldn't worry about it too much. Like, try not to look too far into the future and just exist in the moment.
And there you go. And that's it. Just stay, just stay in the moment. Yes, have plans. We're seeing each other. This is going okay. And, ride the horse until the horse loses its limbs, Ride the horse until the horse loses its limbs. Because, I'll say this. There is something beautiful, too, about being in that young love. Man, love is the best when you are young. It's like sex is the best when sex is for children. Is sober sex? Sober sex is for children. If you're an adult having sober sex, dude, something's astray. Because there's just something, I remember being in love when I was young. Dude, you go see your girl and you're just so excited to just fuck later. You're so excited to fuck, you can't even hear the other person when they're talking. I remember I dated this one girl for like 8 months. I never heard a word she said. Because all of my blood was in my penis, bro. All my blood was trying to coerce semen out of my nuts. My blood was like, hey, we just built your penis into a bridge, semen. Don't you want to fly across the bridge out into the world? So there's something also beautiful, James, about staying in that young love and just basking in it and backstroking in that shit. I mean, dude, you could do youth. There's just so many gifts. You could kill somebody, James. You can kill someone now. I can't kill somebody. It's going to put a huge dent in my career path. It's too late. You can kill somebody, get off for second or, maybe second degree, not premeditated. You could be out in 8 years. Think about that. You're not even 30 yet, and you've gotten rid of somebody you don't like, and you still have a great opportunity to live. Like, there's just a lot of opportunities for you. All right, let's go to another call here.
Hey, Theo, this is Jake from Oklahoma.
Hey, Jake, thank you for calling, man. And Oklahoma's a beautiful state. And I spent some time there in Oklahoma. We went to a water slide there in Oklahoma City, me and some friends of mine. Went to a water park, and we found a missing child there. And we bought him a sandwich, and then eventually some people came and picked him up, so he wasn't missing. Let's hear more.
I'm calling for your golden Oreo boy, James. 2 ways to look at the situation, James. Number one, if it is going to bother you, then you might as well get out now. Like, if it's something you're not going to be able to get over, just her laying more pipe than an oil company and you not having any of it, I would bounce out now, because that is something that if 10 years down the road you're just going to end up cheating on her or something like that, if it's just boiling up inside of you. Number two, the relationships are hard to come by, and sex is something that is adaptable. So if your relationship with her can grow, your sex with her can grow, but it might be difficult for you to find another relationship.
And there you go. I heard this week somebody said, when you settle down, you marry the relationship. You don't really marry the person. And I'm not saying I agree with that, but it was interesting to hear that. That, some of these other things, they're accoutrements. They will fade. A lot of it fades. And in the end, you just have two people. And what are they like? What are they like when they're around each other? So, there's some thoughts right there from Jake. If you're feeling about getting out of it, then get on out of it. Get out now. But there's some beautiful things that can happen. And sometimes it is hard to find a relationship that other things are adaptable. Let's hear another call here.
Hi, Theo. This is Megan calling for James. I know you asked for male advice, but maybe I thought it'd help to have some female advice from someone who has had typically more sexual partners than any of the males that I have been encountered with.
Dang. Megan been out there. We got mating Megan right here. She's been out there mating. Thank you for calling, Megan. Let's hear more.
But maybe some advice for James would be, does she please you sexually? Is it something that you aren't fully satisfied with? If not, maybe have a conversation with her. I know a lot of males have a hard time, and obviously females too have a hard time expressing what it is that they even want when they're in bed. If you have been together for 3 years and you guys are comfortable, this is someone you see yourself with being forever, then you guys should be able to have that kind of conversation. Like, look, I don't know what I really like because you are the only person that I've been with, but maybe we can try some new things.
Man, that is a tough for me, that's a really tough conversation to have. I don't know if I could ever tell a woman the things that I like sexually. That sounds scary to me. And obviously I know as I say that, and I've thought about this before, that there's something inside of me that, just prevents me from feeling comfortable sharing that. I can try and be a pervert. For sure. I'll try to touch your ass, I might try to hide something in your booty, or tie you up outside, or tie both of us up, not just you. But at the same time, I'm afraid to have that with this woman that I care about, to have that conversation. Oh, I think it just scares me. It just makes you feel like just a dirty person, I guess. For me. But let's hear more, Megan.
Maybe she's even open-minded enough to allowing you to try and be with someone else sexually. It's not about love. I think we're all animals at the end of the day, and we all are here to have sex. I don't see there being any harm in that.
Wow, and that's true, dude. They had these... When I was growing up, they had 2, what were those? I guess they were dachshund, maybe? I don't know, what is a dachshund? But they had 2 dogs by us that were pretty much husband and wife for dogs, Always saw them together, they had kids, everything. And then one of them, though, the man, I would see him fucking this other dog down the street sometimes, or at least a half a block away. He didn't go super far, because he seemed like kind of a lazy animal to me. But I would see him fucking this other dog. And then his wife or the other dachshund never really kind of turned a blind eye to it. And I know that's using animals as an example, just as Megan just, inferred that we were animals. But that's true. If you can, maybe a lot of this is communication. If you can communicate with your lady, Jameson, that you got them desires to get out there and pump and skeet, then maybe she'll let you. Maybe she'll be partisan to something like that. Because you know what is fascinating to me? I think half of the relationships that haven't worked out in my lifetime, half of the marriages that haven't worked out in my lifetime would have worked out if the couple could agree on some okay infidelity. And to not label it as infidelity, but to let there be some stray every now and then. Let somebody catch a hit of that strange, Let somebody catch a little bit of that duck, pussy, locally, if they have to every now and then. That duck, goose, Because you duck, and every now and then you want that goose. Let's hear a little bit more from Megan.
So maybe she's open-minded enough to that. It's worth the conversation.
Woo-hoo. And James, I'll commend you. If you can have that conversation, you're a man, bro. But I'll tell you, as to some of the points that have been made, I hate to say it, but I think that there's more than just one true love out there for people. And when I lived back at home and in a smaller town, and I don't know if I felt it as much because there weren't as many people, there weren't as many opportunities, and people that I'd run across. But I think that you can fall in true love more than once. Now that doesn't mean it's going to happen for you. I mean, I have some friends who have gotten up into their 60s, or men that I know, who have just never found true love. And now maybe they're not good at detecting it. Maybe they're not good at knowing what it is. But for whatever it was for them, it never passed, it never came by. Let's hear another call.
Yo, Theo, this is Trevor calling out of Moscow, Russia. I'm calling for James.
Wow. I didn't know this was from Moscow. Trevor, thank you for calling. And this is our second foreign call. Today, Ireland, Russia, coming in with some white hot heat right here. And we're not trying to not keep things diverse, but apparently we had some, predominantly white countries that called up. Let's hear more. Zvider Zane.
In the Golden Oreo. I just wanted to let him know that I'm in the same situation as him.
Wow. And there you go. That's some of the magic. You share, other people share. Let's hear more.
But 7 years later, so I'm hoping that I could give him some words of encouragement and some reassurance. So,
okay, and so Trevor is saying that he had this same problem 7 years ago. Onward.
The most important thing to realize here is that a relationship after the college years doesn't really revolve around fucking as much as people want you to believe. I know maybe he's listening to Delia, who's telling him to not be in a relationship, go out, fuck chicks every night and stuff like that. But I mean, in reality, dude, you got to realize that you're going to be focusing on your career. You're going to be focusing on maybe traveling, hobbies. You're going to be fucking glad that you're not the one doing the dishes at night. So instead of worrying about going getting some crazy chick and fucking her, you're going to be grateful that you're not fucking washing dishes, dude, and your wife's cooking for you or something.
Okay, so I'm a little confused because you're saying that he's going to be grateful that he's not out chasing strange chicks and that he's not washing dishes. But the truth is that if you're not out chasing strange women, then you're probably going to be washing dishes. You're probably going to be at the house with your lady. But yeah, there's some schools of thought out there. It's just stay out there and fuck. But I'll tell you from experience and that it gets empty. It gets addictive because it gets hard to fill. It gets hard to fill that void, because you just, a lot of times you're just uncomfortable because you're lonely. And so then you take that loneliness and you'll hook up with another girl and you'll just create more loneliness. I've had the fortune over the years of I've been with some ladies, and I've been with some real ladies. And one lady I even was with ended up getting sexual transition, and is now a man. So I've been on, I've done some things, but I was there at the starting line, not at the finish line with that gal. And I'll say it gets addictive and it gets lonely. And at a certain point, there's nothing out here for you. You're just out here for your own ego, filling up your own empty ego. And it's crazy because you're filling it up, but also you're making the void bigger at the same time. Now, with that said, Daddy likes to frickin' get a lady that, and eat that cookie, and snack that cooter pie. So I like to do some of that. And I'm not saying it just, but I'm saying, I don't know what I'm saying. Let's hear a little more from Trevor here.
Or something. So if you have these dark thoughts in your head, maybe just bust a nut, get those T levels back down to normal, and then you'll be able to reassess the situation.
And that's Russian Trevor talking about busting nuts there. And it's pretty amazing that we have a show here where a man can call up and recommend to another man that he busts nuts and it not be sexual. I mean, that's pretty rare, I think. You know, you just don't get that every day these days. I mean, you just don't get that. All right, let's see if I have any final thoughts on that for James. You know, James, if you're ready to start a family, if you see that this woman is going to be, you know, you're not looking around, you're locked in, then I think you go for it. I think you stick with your girl. Maybe you give it a beat. You know, maybe you don't make any crazy moves with her for a year if you're having some of these reservations. Maybe you talk to her about some of the reservations you are having. Maybe she'll help put some of them out of your mind. Maybe she's open to the threesome thing. I mean, one thing that's kind of scary out here these days is that there's so many options. You know, it goes back to the information thing. There's so much. I mean, you can know every woman that's on your street now. Before, in the old days, when you were like, you know, in the 40s or something, I don't even know when it was, sometime, you'd be at this fruit shop or at the grocery and you'd see some other woman. You probably saw 2 other women a month, just randomly, outside of your wife, and you just saw one at the store squeezing a melon, and you just came in your pants immediately. And that was and that's how it was. That was the internet. Was hoping that some lady with clean hands, or maybe even dirty hands back then, who cared, decided to test the ripeness of a piece of fruit in the vicinity of your eyes. And just as she gave it that, you gave it that dry duck call. You know, there's a website somewhere where they recorded the sounds of men ejaculating. And you can hear the sounds, they amplify them. And the most popular one I sort of heard was that. It's a little bit of a, you know, like a mallard with a toothache, kind of. Like that. It's interesting almost. It almost sounds like you know, has something like almost like an astronaut kind of, you know, walking into the, or not even like an astronaut really. Anyhow, good luck out there, James. That information's hard. It's an uphill battle. I think it's an uphill battle for any man. Because I don't know if we were made to battle this. And maybe the younger generation won't have to battle this as much. Maybe that's just something that we're doing. You know, like I was mentioning earlier, maybe that's just since, you know, people my age are in that transition where we had a childhood that had none of this. And then we have an adulthood that has so much of it. That we're the ones who are so conflicted and so torn and so, but that our children and that generations, you know, beyond us are going to, it's just going to be natural. That now our emotions are just digital emotions and they're just as real. It could be. And also that could be crazy. It could be that, you know, 30 years from now, we're all sitting somewhere and have a virtual reality universe where we're out there, maybe not 30, maybe 30 years, where whatever job you have, you now go to it just fictionally. And, you know, we're all drinking these smoothies that keep us alive. And I don't know. It's wild. It's a lot. I'm going to get into a couple of calls here real quick. I want to thank our charter sponsor. And you know who that is. That's Gray Block Pizza. And their link will be at the bottom of the story in the information. Gray Block Pizza, 1811 Pico Boulevard. If you're on your way to the beach and you're thinking, oh, I know what'll go good with this sunny day. And your friend's like, chocolate? You're like, no, motherfucker. Gray Block Pizza. Stop on in. Get that hitter. On Monday's episode, we're going to talk about. Well, I don't want to tell you yet. We're going to talk about if. I'll tell you, but I just don't want a bunch of calls about it because I want us to I'm going to have callers talk about it after. We're going to talk about if there was a war amongst all the states, who would win and why. It's going to be almost like a little bit of like a March Madness kind of thing. And that'll be on Monday's episode. We still got some calls we're going through here. I appreciate everybody's calls in for James. And James, I really applaud you for calling. That's a real question. I remember when I was your age, I couldn't be honest with a girlfriend. I remember I cheated on I only had 2, 3, and I cheated on them. I just didn't. Part of me, I wanted love so much. I wanted to have that connection. I wanted to have that. I had that, maybe not. I wanted love, but I wanted that family. I wanted that idea of like, you marry your childhood sweetheart and this sort of thing. And you get, and one of you gets a job and you come home with the briefcase and there's a dog and he's, hiding a bone in the yard and you go inside and, 2 of your kids are doing homework and one of your kids is blind, and is sitting by the fire, and you spend time with all your kids and you love them all the same. I wanted that kind of perfect life that you would see on TV but I didn't know how to love anybody. In my soul of souls, I had so little faith that love and that, familial connection and that those things were real. I had so little faith that a woman would actually take care of me and care about me. And I couldn't even tell that I was scared about those things. I didn't know. I just now looking back, I see my reaction, the way that I behaved. That at that time, those were some of my biggest fears. And also because now I know that those are some of my biggest fears. It's really tough for me when it gets into a situation with a lady, to catch that intimacy. It's easier if you're out here with these strays. You're out here, fucking people out in the wilderness or meeting somebody by a national park, and that sort of thing, or somebody at a bar or something like that, somebody at a crosswalk or somebody who's of age and all of that. I can't even, James, if you go through with that, I can't imagine. You would be you'd be the Clint Eastwood of relationships, I think. I don't know if there's anybody else in America doing what you're doing. But then I don't know. I don't know what these young kids are like these days. I don't know. Some of you guys may know. I do not know at all. Let's hit a couple more calls that came in. Here we go.
Theo. My name is Tyler. I'm from Wisconsin.
What's up, Tyler? That's cheese. That's that queso country up there. And that's the home of Brendan Dassey. And he's from, he's from that Making a Murderer thing. And they accused him of killing or being a partisan of that killing. And when that documentary came out, dude, I got on the internet and I contacted as many people as I could that were in that documentary. And at one time I was emailing 3 people in that documentary, just discussing things with them. There was that beautiful reporter, Levy, I think Sandra Levy. No, Sandra Levy got murdered, I think. I don't remember her name. But I asked her out on a date on Twitter, and she rejected me. And she was a reporter in that documentary. Anyway, Tyler, onward.
And I got some half-ass dark arts little story for you.
Man, a lot of dark arts coming in, and it's amazing that this afflicts so many people's lives. It's amazing. And we're going to come out with some dope dark arts gear and stuff this year, just T-shirts and some cool posters. I'll be hitting out this year. Onward.
So, Christmas, the weekend before Christmas, I'm sitting with my girl in bed, we're watching TV, watching Netflix, hanging out, and all of a sudden knock on my door. I go, well, I think it's going to be my neighbor. He's a crazy guy. He's always on a smoker, hang out for a second, and I'll just pop in, slap by, all right, dude, I want to answer the door. Well.
Okay, so it's a week before Christmas, that doorbell rings, and you think it's your crazy neighbor because he's whacked out. And you said he might be on something. He might be on them uppers or something, or them sidewaysers. Let's hear more.
Well, I answered the door. There's 3 cops sitting there. Going, hey, yeah, we see your girlfriend's car out there. Is she here? I was like, oh, yeah? Hey, babe, the door's for you.
Okay, so the cops want to talk to your lady? More?
Well, fuck. Apparently, she went nuts without me even knowing and robbed a bar, which is pretty fucked up. And didn't even tell me about it, which is honestly a good thing, because they could fucking, pin that shit on me if I knew about it, so I'm glad she was kind of secretive about it. But anyway.
That is true, man. Most women, they tell you everything they do, but this gal, she robs a bar and she keeps that on the DL. I mean, she sounds like a keeper. James, you might want to talk to Tyler about how to meet the correct woman. Onward.
So I kind of got mad at her for that. I kind of broke up with her over that. And then now she's back out of the hoose cow. She's trying to get back with me. I do like her because I fucking love her, man. We've been together for a long, 4 years. And I'm not really sure what to do, dude. I'm kind of lost.
And I think this all can kind of flow in with the James conversation. Tyler, thank you for your ringing us up there. And I'm sorry that your girlfriend's doing crime and that she's, hanging out at the house while but that's a cold move, dude. She's just watching Netflix. She's just tuned into a little bit of Ozark, knowing that she got, that she got things pending in the distance. That's ice cold, man. That's almost truly beautiful. But here's the thing, is what I'm saying is that things are constantly going to come along, James, in your relationship. And whether it's, you get your girl pregnant, or you guys get married, or your girlfriend, commits a crime and, tries to, just kind of shrug it off. There's constantly going to be times where you're going to have to make a choice. And some people, it's a daily choice when they wake up. And it's not, can I love my wife or can I love my girlfriend forever? Sometimes it's just, can I love my girlfriend today? Do I commit to her today? And that's all you have to do. And that kind of puts it back into Christian's idea. Just stay in this moment. Because you really don't know. I mean, you could be divorced and out there having sex in 10 years. You could be married forever and be happy as could be. You could be married for 2 years and occasionally have a threesome and she falls in love with the woman you guys meet. Life is going to continue to happen no matter what little plans and railroad track we lay down. Life's going to continue to locomote wherever it wants to go. And the best we can do is try not to get too set in our ways. But back to Tyler, I think the thing, Tyler, is that, that's your lady, it sounds like. And I think that's sexy. A lot of these women nowadays, a lot of these rich people, they get out of trouble. So their broads ain't even going to jail for anything. But you get some of these real natural ladies being down there. And they, these ladies been in and out of the hooscow. And they got barrettes in their hair still, even though they're an adult. And they'll have a Slim Jim every now and then. And they ain't afraid to go to a Valentine dinner at Jimmy John. At Jimmy John sandwiches. And they'll bike it. Sometimes they'll even bike the sandwiches over to you. So I say you stick with that girl. Sounds like you got to ride or die. And if y'all ever shoot something up, make sure it's a Denny's, brother. Gang, gang. All right, guys. I gotta get. I'm gonna throw this one call in here that came in from Big Chuck right here. Let's take this one.
Yo, what up, Theo? This is Big Chuck calling from NorCal, but I actually live in Rio, Carioca, Rio de Janeiro, Porra, Brazil, and
I don't know what he said. It sounded like he got his you know, like his mouth stuck on something, like he was playing one of those new board games where you put the thing in your mouth and you talk at the same time. But thank you for calling, bud. Onward.
Going back to Brazil, going to the airport in a couple hours, just wanted to call and say, you know, man, I hear people calling in. I hear a lot of people suffering. I hear a lot of people, you know, a lot of guys looking for direction and shit. I just want to say to people, look for what makes you happy. You do, Theo, and go for it, you know. And if you love somebody, show them you love them. Don't be afraid to do that. You know, got to be a soldier. You got to keep doing it. You got to keep plowing forward. Much love, brother. Much love to all the listeners.
Oh, and there you go. And that's Big Chuck, and he's headed back to Brazil. And you know, did you know that Sao Paulo, Brazil has one of the largest contingencies of Japanese people in the whole world, outside of Japan, second largest. Interesting. Bet you didn't know that. A lot of people didn't. I thank you for calling, Chuck, and maybe that's just a good place to leave things. You know, Tyler, whether your girl's been running around, you know, she got a little bit of gunplay or whatever. You know, at least she already got handcuffs. You know, bring them things back into the bedroom. You know, and James, you know, you don't know what. Follow your heart, man. I'll say this, James. You sound like a dude that has a big heart. And follow that thing. And life is going to be scary sometimes. You're going to think. I remember crying outside of a woman's apartment when I was young. And I remember petting that girl's cat. And I talk about that a lot on here, but I remember petting that girl's cat. Hitchhiking to South Carolina and hiding on my ex-girlfriend's porch, and a cat comes up that I don't know because I just got into town. And I've never even seen this cat or even been in this town. And this cat sitting right there by, and I just start petting it as I'm crying outside on this porch, stalking an ex-girlfriend. So you just don't know what awaits in front of you. You don't know the magic that's out there for you, James. But I think communication is key. So many times, if I could go back in time, I would just communicate honestly. You know, sometimes there's something wrong in us where we're just so afraid to communicate honestly. And I think it's because at some time in our life, you know, we were honest and somebody didn't, you know, respect it. Or somebody didn't believe it. And I believe that for myself a lot. You know, that I think there was times in my life when I was just honest, maybe even as just a child or something, and it just wasn't recognized around me that I was being real. That I sincerely was having a tough time. And those things carry into you as an adult. And James, if you don't have that infection of dishonesty, then I say you just be honest with your girl. You be honest with her, man. You know, I heard somebody actually tell me earlier today, I've never been honest and had things go wrong. Ever. Not one single time. Now, is that true? I don't fucking know. Barely even know that dude who said it. But sounds like it could be. I appreciate everybody's calls. Thank you guys for hitting the hotline, 985-664-9503. On Monday's episode, I'm going to talk about I'll talk about my weekend. I'm going up to Portland. I'll talk about that. I'm going to visit that hamster rancher. But I'm also going to talk about if all the states separated and there were a war amongst them all, who do you think would take home first, second, and third place? But I don't want any calls on that. We'll take calls on it next week. I'm just letting you guys know what I'm going to be talking about. I want to thank Spencer Jacob Grau for sending in his music. We got a lot of new fan music that has come in. I want to thank you guys for that. I'll see you in Portland. You can grab an Onward This Past Weekend t-shirt at theovon.com/store. As well, my boys Simon Rex and Mickey Avalon are out on tour. They're coming to Iowa. I know that. So you guys can go check them out. They're going to be out and about. See if they're near you. And what else? That's it, man. You guys be good to yourselves. You probably deserve it. I'm going to edit this thing and pack up for my flight to Portland. I'm so excited to be at Harvey's this weekend. And that's it. I think that's it.
Celebrate living, celebrate misery. You know that soon we're gonna die. Let's have some fun while we all die.
Celebrate dark days.
Celebrate all your
You gotta be a soldier out here. You gotta keep trudging. Gotta keep trudging, whatever it is. Keep your head up, guys and ladies.